Makeover Monday Challenge, a weekly challenge brought to you by the Paper Crafters Library and Sunny Stampin' Studios. Now, the purpose of Makeover Mondays is to help you learn how to take the ideas and inspiration you find on the internet and make it your own. Now, this challenge is strictly a work from your stash challenge. So every Monday, I'm going to take a project I find on the internet and show you how I use it for inspiration, how I make it my own, using supplies from my own stash. Your challenge is to do the same, and I'll give you more details at the end of this video. First off, here's today's inspiration piece, a bright and colorful birthday card by Debbie Olson. I've been a longtime blog follower of Debbie's and just absolutely love everything she makes. As I show you my card and how to make it, I'll share with you how I drew inspiration from Debbie's piece to create my own. I kept the foundational pieces of my card the same as Debbie's. So here I have a cardstock mat, and this is 4 by 5 1/4 inches, and the color is the Paper Tray Ink Scarlet Jewel color. Now for my pattern paper, I also kept 2 strips, a narrower one, which is 1 1/2 by 5 1/8, and then one that's wider, which is 3 inches by 5 1/8. Now both of these patterns come from the My Mind's Eye Love Me collection. So I'm taking some double-sided adhesive and I'm centering and sticking my larger piece, the one that's 3 inches high, along the top of my Scarlet Jewel cardstock, leaving an even border all around. I'm then taking my second piece, the one that's 1 1/2 inches high, and I'm sticking it along the bottom of the Scarlet Jewel cardstock piece, making sure I align the edges and leaving again an even border at the bottom left and right sides. So the narrower piece is going to overlap the big piece. Now Debbie added some stitching around the outer edges of her card. I decided to omit that step because I wanted to keep it a little bit simpler. So the next thing I'm going to do is add some ribbon. Again, when you look at Debbie's card, she did this really neat technique with her ribbon where the ribbon overhangs on both sides of the card and she cuts it in a fishtail pattern. Now I decided for mine that instead of doing that, I was going to just use a simple technique where I just wrap it around the edges of my card, creating essentially as a ribbon border. And I'm centering it over the seam of my pattern paper. And then I'm taking the ends of my ribbon, I'm wrapping them around to the back of the Scarlet Jewel cardstock to stick it down. So there you can see what that now looks like. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to stick it onto my card base. So again, I kept the amount of layers and pieces to this point pretty much the same as Debbie's card. So there you can see what that looks like. Now when you look at Debbie's card, she stamped birthday wishes onto a label and die cut that label. For my card, I'm using this set from Spellbinders called Fancy Tags 2, and I'm using this label here. And the reason I chose this one is because it has little hearts on the side, which kind of go in keeping with the theme of my card, which is for Valentine's Day. Now I went ahead and I cut 2 labels. I cut one out of the Scarlet Jewel and then I cut one out of the vanilla because I wanted to be able to stamp my greeting onto the vanilla and so that it would show up against the Scarlet Jewel color. Now I did not have another die that was the same shape of oval, so I die cut my tag or my label out of vanilla cardstock. And then, as you can see here, I'm taking my paper snips and I'm just cutting around it. So when you look at the label closely, there is a slight embossed edge, and I'm cutting that. I'm cutting the little edge portion off from the label, like so. Now, of course, because you can never cut quite as smoothly as you can with the die cut, I'm taking a sanding block and I'm just very lightly going around the edges of my cut oval and just smoothing them out a bit so to get rid of some of those points that end up left behind by the scissors. And then once you've sanded off the points, just sit it onto on top of, or hold it in place on top of your label, just to make sure that it looks like you have an even border all around. So that looks good. So I'm now going to place this onto my pattern paper, and I'm going to be stamping my greeting. So for my greeting, I'm using one that says, "I love you so much," and it's from the Paper Trace Signature Greetings collection. I'm using my Sukineko Memento Tuxedo Black ink to ink up my stamp so I can stamp my greeting onto this oval piece that I just cut. So there you can see what that piece now looks like. So my next step is to stick that label onto which I've stamped my greeting and place it onto my label that's out of the Scarlet Jewel. So I'm just going to center and stick that with my Stampin' Dimensionals to pop that off of the label. And then I'm going to take my card and I'm going to use some of my double-sided adhesive to stick this down to my card front. And I'm centering this over my ribbon piece. So there you can see what that looks like. Now when you look at Debbie's card, she had a button on either side of the label. Because the label that I chose is quite ornate and it has this little heart image in it, I decided not to put the buttons there. But I did want to bling it up a little bit. So I took some of my rhinestones from Stampin' Up, the basic rhinestones, and I colored them with my RV69 Copic sketch marker to give them this kind of dark pink, burgundy-ish type color. And then I'm placing them above and below the greeting. The other thing when you look at Debbie's card is she had an extra present that she had stamped and die cut and positioned that above her label, and I opted not to add any further elements because I felt that the label itself was ornate enough that I didn't need to add anything else to it. So there you have it. This is what the finished project looks like. And now it's your turn. So here's how the challenge works. Create your own project using Debbie's for inspiration. Now, while I chose to create a card, you can use her inspiration to create any kind of project you'd like. In fact, I encourage you to do something other than a card. Post your project on your blog or your online photo gallery, and then come back to the Paper Crafters Library blog. Click on the Makeover Monday challenge post. At the very bottom, there'll be an In Links button. When you click on that In Links button, there'll be a space for you to copy and paste the direct link to your project, again, whether you have it on a blog or an online photo gallery. Now, if you're watching this video from somewhere other than the Paper Crafters Library blog, in the description section of the video, you'll see a direct link to our Makeover Monday blog post. I will draw one name from all the participants on Monday, December the 26th, and the winner will receive a 2012 calendar and notepad tin kit. See you on the blog.